Now we want to welcome to the Jimmy Star Show with Ron Russell, the incredibly talented acting coach, teacher, and actor, Mr. Barry Papick. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Oh, yeah, I'm just exhausted from that.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce him to everybody.
Can't you go quicker?
Starting off with my cool, outrageous man about town co-host, Mr. Ron Russell.
Welcome to the insane asylum. They're all nuts on this program, let me tell you. You come in normal, you go out nuts. Anyway.
I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, good, I'm glad.
It works totally. Then we got the man behind the boards, Mr. Chad Murphy.
Barry, welcome to the show. Good to have you.
How are you, Chad?
Doing well, thank you.
Good.
And then we have a chat room full of people from like every country imaginable, so say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody, and hey, every country.
There you go. And then also say hi to Churchill because he's listening while he's writing something.
Mr. Thomas Churchill, how are you, my friend?
There you go. You got to love it. All right.
Meanwhile, Barry, did you see the person that was on before you?
No, I did not.
Oh, my, I'm exhausted. The piece of ass of the earth.
Are you allowed to say that on air? I don't know.
We can say whatever we want. Oh. She makes a Barbie doll look like a bull dyke. She had a face on her like an angel, a set of tits like two rockets, a body of death, long blonde hair, and I'm gay. Could you imagine if I was straight? If I was straight, I'd have been whacking off.
She was a Playboy playmate, and she was also. Wow. This is the Thomas J. Churchill show today because he recommended both of our guests, and so she came on, and her name was Suzanne Stokes, and now you're on, Mr. Barry Papick, and so it's like all Churchill's friends.
I know, but Churchill said he's putting her in 2 of his movies. You know, he's doing the producer star routine.
No, he's not.
I have a couch somewhere.
I know Mr. Churchill. He's an upstanding, fine young gentleman.
Absolutely, he is.
That's true.
All right, everybody. True. So first of all, this is the first time I think we've had somebody on who works both sides. Very few people we've had on that you know about, at least.
Didn't your co-host just say he works both sides?
No, but I mean, we don't normally have people and teachers to teach people how to act.
We had Lainey Kazan on, and she's teaching right now.
Now she is, but back then she wasn't doing it.
Yes, she was. She was teaching.
Well, she didn't tell us about it.
At Hofstra University on Long Island.
5 years ago, she wasn't. I'm telling you.
Darling, I just did her bio. She's been teaching at Hofstra for the last 22 years.
Okay, but we didn't talk about it then, so we didn't know it. How's that?
Okay, there we go. We're married, by the way, so you can tell that we're going to kill each other in 2 minutes.
So everybody, first of all, you can follow Barry on Twitter. He's at bpapick, Papick.
That's right.
I'm going to give a little quick bio so we can kind of like brag about you a little bit before we start talking. And
I love it.
He's been teaching actors for 25 years, you guys. I got to put my glasses on because there's so much cool shit here. He's he's coached for lots of cool TV shows, including The West Wing, The Wire, Malcolm in the Middle, Body of Proof, Brothers and Sisters, Burn Notice, which I was on like 10 episodes,
nice.
The Originals, and many more. He's worked with Sean Connery, Jamie Foxx, Anna Paquin, Dennis Quaid. I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Ione Sky?
Ione Sky, that's right.
Ione Sky.
She was the star God, Say Anything.
Say Anything, one of the greatest movies of my generation. Lindsay Lohan, Rob Brown, who Finding Forrester is one of my all-time favorite films.
Well, thank you. I was the onset coach for Finding Forrester, and Rob's on Blind Spot right now.
Yeah, I love it. He's a great actor. And also Dennis Quaid, Charles Dutton, and Anthony Mackie, who I've met several times, and he's Captain America's like sidekick. I forgot the name he plays. But anyway, so you've worked with all kinds of great things besides being in films. Tell us a little bit about, like, do you dig being like an acting coach? Because we haven't had that many people who are so prominent with it.
Absolutely. We won an Oscar for Ray with Jamie Foxx. And I work with Alec Baldwin and a whole bunch of people. And, I've been on the onset coach for Gus Van Sant and for Gary Fleeter on The Express. So, it's a lot of fun.
I think it's terrific. So, like, do you take your own advice?
Well, I have an acting coach myself.
Okay.
So when need be, I go to her, and she helps me out with different. I always think it's great to have a third eye. To have somebody else who's looking at you and can make some suggestions.
An actor who coaches himself is like an attorney who represents himself. A fool.
That's right.
Because you're only going to see in the mirror what you want to see, not what the audience sees. So you need a coach.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, listen, when I look in the mirror, I'm very pretty, so that it makes things easy. Well, but when I have an acting coach, they tend to have a third eye and give me some suggestions.
I look in the mirror, I see a 21-year-old gorgeous guy with a body of death.
That's what I was seeing when I was looking at you also.
Oh, really? You're so nice. Full of shit, but so nice. Meanwhile, let's talk about acting now. What kind of a technique do you pull out of your ass when you're ready to work? I mean, if they want you to play a heavy, how heavy do you go?
Well, the work that I do is called need-based acting, and it's based in truth. And so if they want me to do a heavy, then basically it's just like anything else. I analyze the script, I take it apart, and I do the work that needs to be done.
I think you need minimal work if you're playing a heavy, because you have such a strong face that you could probably scare the hell out of people as a mafia head, as anybody that's in control of other people. You have a very strong Romanesque face. Like
when you're not smiling, dude, you look like you could kill somebody.
No, he looks.
I'm really a sweet guy.
No, if you go to Italy and see the statues that they have in Italy of all the heads of the forum people, they all have your look. You look Italian. You have a very, very strong-looking face. So I would cast you always as the strong lead, the guy that and I think minimal amount of work from you, just one look. Give us a look.
He's giving you one already.
The boss.
Yeah, one look of disapproval does hours of dialogue.
No, it's really good because you have to be able to...
I like that, by the way. Years ago, in the 40s, they were taught to give looks, okay? Today, they don't do that. In the 40s, they overspoke each other, which made it real. Today, they don't do that. Mm-hmm. Stan Zimmerman is the only one that does overlay voice in any productions that he does. And also, Stan Zimmerman, who wrote for the Golden Girls, was a big fan of the expressions those women made with each joke they did. That's how it's done. Today, they're flat. They do a joke and they stand there with a dead face. No. Bob Hope used to laugh. Jack Benny used to laugh. Don't you remember how the Red Skeleton...
He's not old enough to remember that.
Yeah, that's a little bit before my time.
But wait a second. Don't you know history of film? Come on, you have to know history of film. Anybody in the business...
Well, like we went to see The Wife the other day.
Wonderful.
It's a fabulous movie, and like Glenn Close is so good when she's not talking. It's all like looks.
You got to
like
see her,
all the expressions in her face.
Her eyes did the whole script. She was amazing.
Well, it's also because the choices she makes her so alive. And I think acting is, Lee Strasberg used to say, it's not. There's no great actors. There's only actors who make great choices. And I think that's what we all have to do. If you've done your homework, then the rest falls into place.
That was a cool thing to say.
No, but I know. I know of that from years ago. That was a technique. If you studied with Lee Strasberg, that was one of Lee's feelings were. He always believed in less is better. And, one gaze can do more than a dialogue. So I believe in that. Are you a method actor, or do you believe in method actor? I am a
method actor, but I think everybody is more or less a method actor.
Today you have to be, yeah.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough that I studied with Lee the last 3 years of his life.
Okay.
So, and I studied with Uta Hagen, and I took
Ruta Hagen. Oh my God, Ruta Hagen. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Uta.
I know. No, I have a sore throat. So now, no, seriously, my throat is starting to sound like ours when it's Uta.
I thought maybe you were thinking Ruta Lee.
No, Ruta Lee is my friend. Uta came out Ruta, but it's Uta Lee.
That's right.
Uta Hagen.
Uta Hagen. You got me confused. I know Ruta Hagen.
Uta,
but it sounds
Uta.
like Ruta.
Uta. You said Ruta like 10 times.
I'm from Brooklyn, and that's how we say.
So wait, where are you from?
I'm originally from New Jersey.
Jersey.
Spent most of my adult life in New York City.
Sure, me too. I'm a New Yorker, babe. You can hear that.
We just moved here in February.
I taught acting in New York for a long time, and basically made my living as an actor in New York for a long time.
Where'd you teach?
I taught at Strasberg. I taught at the Real Stage. I taught at John Strasberg's, and I taught at Black Nexus.
Okay, so those are pretty good credits.
Yeah, he's got great credits. Well, look at who he worked with. I love Anna Paquin. I love all the people that you've actually worked with.
Yeah, but he worked with Alex Baldwin.
Oh, Ron doesn't like Alex Baldwin. Alec Baldwin.
Today I'm not working anyway. I give a shit about him. I'm deliberately pronouncing his name incorrectly. I understand from many people that he's a homophobe and he says horrible things about gay people, and I think that's wrong.
You don't have to understand it. He did it publicly.
I don't believe that's true at all. But he's a very sensitive and very deep thinking individual.
Yeah, I wonder what his sexual background was on Long Island at Exit 54. Yeah. Which is called Pickle Park.
Anyway, let's leave it alone.
Yes.
Anyway, so let's talk Pickle Park. That's like where everybody went to get picked up.
Long Island Expressway, Exit 54. All the married men would go there for a little gay action.
I didn't know that.
Well, now you know that. And so does the rest of the world. So Alec Baldwin was from Long Island. Some people that are homophobes usually have a problem.
So let's go though. So okay. So you have all these like great people you've actually coached in acting, and but then you've also got a lot of great credits on your own. You're in Nation's Fire, which is the movie we can't wait to see. Churchill's next film, starring Bruce Dern and Lorraine Landon and a whole bunch of great people.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Working with Thomas Churchill was fantastic. Thomas is a real actor's director and a great guy. So I had a blast doing that movie, and I'm really looking forward to it.
He wanted me to star in that film, but we couldn't do contract. I wanted don't laugh. I wanted $5,000 a day. I don't shoot until 10 till 5. I want an hour massage in the morning, my own trailer on the set, and and at the end I wanted like 50%. And he didn't agree to it.
And he wouldn't give you that?
No, that cheap son of a bitch, right?
I don't understand that at all.
Churchill, you're cheap. That's why your movie's going to be a flop without me.
Bite your tongue.
It's going to be a hit because all the Churchill stuff works. He wins awards, Churchill.
Well, because he's a great writer and also a wonderful director.
Absolutely.
And a dear friend. We like the guy a lot.
Absolutely. So wait.
Jimmy knows him forever.
Yeah, I've known him for a very long time, and because you've been in different shows though that we've had people on the show, and I always like to bring that up. So it's like our 6 degrees of separation. But you did an episode of Shameless. We had Laura Wiggins on the show, who's now on. Now she's on that. Well, the guy said got canceled. It was our favorite show, Good Behavior. Did you ever see Good Behavior?
I have not.
It's like one of the greatest shows ever with the girl from Downton Abbey. And anyway, Laura Wiggins she's on that show also.
Is Good Behavior coming back?
No, I don't think so. And you should watch it though. It's on TNT. You would love it.
What a mistake! They're so stupid. The people.
And then you were in a movie called Lake Effects, and we had Scotty Thompson on, and I love Scotty Thompson.
I love Scotty Thompson also, and my scenes were with Scotty, so. She's really wonderful
she's
actress.
She's so fabulous. She was I actually met her through Randall Batinkoff because she was in the movie that he directed and wrote called like 21 or something. It was a great movie, and she was in that, and we loved her. We had such a good time with her. And then you did a movie, Sim 1, with Al Pacino, Catherine Keener, Winona Ryder, and Evan Rachel Wood. And I met Catherine Keener at a Barnes & Noble, and she was so nice. It wasn't even – I was like, oh, my God, like she's such a superstar. And, like, she was just talking to me like no big deal, and it was really cool.
I think I was the funniest thing in that movie, but that's just me.
That's okay. But at least it's good credits, though, to be in credits with all those people.
Years ago, I was at a party, and Winona whizzed in and whizzed out, and I was taken back by her because she was so gorgeous. And
she is gorgeous.
But this was years ago when she was young. And you know what I said to myself? Because Jane Russell was my best friend for years, the legend Jane Russell. And I said, if ever they do the Jane Russell story, they've got to get Winona Ryder. She looked so much like Jane Russell in person. It was scary. She had to be taller, but she could play Jane in a minute.
I don't think people know how talented Winona is. And
she's the best.
Incredibly wonderful actress.
Please, she's the best.
She's sitting on top again now, though. So I think that she's going to have a lot of opportunities.
You can't keep good down.
So. She deserves it. I mean, she is a really talented girl.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Did you ever see her with the Angie, not Voight.
Girl Interrupted.
Angie Jolie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Angelina Jolie.
That was a great film.
I loved Girl Interrupted.
So you were also in Private Parts, Howard Stern's film, Little Voices with Tatum O'Neal, Crispin Glover, Tate Donovan, and John C. McGinley. Those are all like great people to be in stuff with. The 24th Day with James Marsden, Sofia Vergara, Scott Speedman, which those are all big names. I mean, you got some really
Sophia was only
great
19
credits.
at the time.
Right. I was going to ask you, what's she like?
I love Sophia, but she was just a child at the time. And really, that movie was a two-hander. It was mostly Scott Speedman and James Marsden, and a little bit of me and Sophia.
That's okay. A little bit's better
Remember,
than none.
there are no small parts. There are only small actors.
Lee Strasberg used to say that.
Well, not only Lee, but I think Norma Desmond said it in her film
Sunset
Boulevard with what's his face.
Very nice.
You gotta love it. So okay, so you do both. Do you have a preference of which one you do?
Well, I'm an actor first, and I always will be. I love to act, and I've been really lucky that I've gotten to do that in a lot of places. A lot of films, a lot of television shows. But I mean, I always liked coaching just because I like actors. I'm really lucky that I get to work with some of the great actors, and so I really enjoy coaching also. But I'm an actor first, and I always will be.
So okay,
Wait, I have to ask him a question. Okay. What did it feel like the first day you set foot on your first set for your first movie?
I think it was a little intimidating. I had been in acting school for a while, and I had studied with some great acting teachers, so I felt like I was prepared. But it was always intimidating, and I always say, working opposite somebody like Al Pacino, or working opposite somebody like Dennis Quaid, Sean Connery, I mean, those are intimidating things. But when you've been studying with Lee Strasberg, or you can't be more intimidated than you are in acting class. So everything else is just syrup on the pancakes.
Do you believe if the star that you're talking about, let's take Sean Connery, if he's a generous actor, it makes your role easier?
Oh, absolutely. But I've been very fortunate. I don't think I've ever met an actor who wasn't generous. I've always met actors who want to be, they want to be pushed. They want to be, a little bit more interesting than they are. So, I've been really lucky. Different actors work in different ways. With Sean Connery, you knew that you had to do everything in 3 takes, and that was it. With Al Pacino, you knew you had like 25 takes to do everything. So, it's just different ways, different methods, but, it was always great.
Good answer.
Is Rob Brown really cool?
Yeah, I've been coaching Rob since he's 15.
I think that he is so great.
He's fantastic, and I love Finding Forrester. We did a lot of great work on Finding Forrester, and I was really happy to be on set, and I love working with Gus Van Sant. But Rob was 15 when we started Finding Forrester, and now he's on The Blind Spot, and he's in his 30s, and he's a really good kid.
Finding Forrester, if you guys have never seen it, you have to see it, especially like if you like movies that have to do with, like, I don't know, because it has Sean Connery. Anyway, it's a great movie. I don't want to spoil it. Everybody needs to see it. It's got such a great story.
One more question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My daughter Deirdre is an actress, and she goes to acting classes. And I said, Deirdre, don't. Either you've got it in you or you don't. You cannot.
Well, you're absolutely wrong.
No, I was going to get an argument from you. When you are a natural born, such as Angela Lansbury, and the list goes on and on, Betty Davis, Joan Crawford, all the great legends, Jane Russell, these people never had one day of acting lessons.
Yeah,
but they had what was called star quality, and that showed in film. Clark Gable, Cary Grant, none of them went to school to learn to be actors. I feel that the ones that succeed with you as a coach are the ones that have the gift within. I mean, you can get a piece of cardboard and talk to it for hours. It's never going to do what you want. Do you agree with that?
No. I think you're absolutely wrong. And I'll tell you why. I could make a great actor, Oscar-winning actor, which I've done, and I could make a good actor great, and I could make a bad actor good. It's a matter of choices, and it's a matter of, each actor, who's willing to find, their depth. And I think when you look at actors like Clark Gable, I mean, those guys, they were all movie stars. They weren't actors. When you see actors like James Dean, and you see actors, like Marlon Brando, you realize that
But wait, hang on. You're talking now about screamers, criers, and baby boys that act neurotic and insane. Back in those days, they didn't do that because people didn't behave that way. It was called inappropriate. Clark Gable was a fabulous actor. So was Tyrone Power. They all were good actors because if you look at their technique and their style, they were real. Even though they were beautiful stars, they were real. Joan Crawford.
And I think they all could have been better. And I
why? Wait, hang on.
Make you didn't let him finish his point.
Make them better by screaming, acting neurotic, cursing, being trashy?
No, about being truthful. You know, certainly there's never been an actor that's better than Marlon Brando, and it's not because he screams or he's trashy or whatever you say. It's because that nobody's ever reached that amount of truth. Not Clark Gable, not Cary Grant. Nobody's ever reached that depth and that amount of truth before. So when you're talking about great actors, you're talking about, people who are, willing to be honest and willing to be open. It has nothing to do with screaming. It only has to do with, sharing and sharing what's really within, inside you. And I don't think the movie stars that you're talking about, like Clark Gable, and I don't think they ever really truly shared what was inside them.
But they are legends, and they will live on forever. Now,
sure,
James,
because they did what they did at the time that they did it.
Well, the same thing goes for now.
Same thing right now.
Well, Al Pacino and Brando, they're the same people of the '60s generation. I remember when James Dean came out in Rebel Without a Cause, and how shocked we were to see him cry and scream and yell, "Ma!" and do all of that. Or Marlon Brando yelling Stella and ripping his shirt. When I was young, that was so like, oh my God, this is like shocking. Nobody behaves this way. Look, they're putting it on film. Just like when Gable said in Gone with the Wind, I don't give a damn. Oh my God, he said damn. So they really didn't have to work with what the actors have to work with today. That sort of freedom and that sort of reality. So I agree with you on that part. But don't you think that, see, during the Depression, people were poor. So they made all these silly comedies, these Carole Lombard silly spoofy movies with rich people, gowns and things, and people went to the movies to forget their troubles. Today, I think movies have become so realistic and the subject matter is so sad and down and dark that people go to the films and they don't walk out being happy like you did with My Fair Lady, or if you did with what's her name in Sound of Music.
You're really reaching back.
You know what I mean? Well, that's where I'm from. I'm 78 years old. I have a history of film. I'm in the business 58 years. My first movie was with Tab Hunter and Sophia Loren. I was lucky enough to be with them in my first movie.
Wait a second. Go back. Okay, so
I know the history of film. I've lived through it. Most of these legends have been my friend, and I interviewed them. So I know what they're from.
I think what he's saying is correct, though. They wouldn't be legends now.
Wait a second.
I don't think they would either.
Oh, Cary Grant would be a legend.
He would be great looking,
he'd be
but
a pretty
he
face.
No, Cary. No, Cary Grant had a personality.
Faces out there.
No,
Wait, who do you think are like right now? If you were to go right now and pick, like, who do you think are some of the best actors out there right now?
I think Johnny Depp. I think Eddie Redmayne. I think Robert Downey Jr. Those are guys who are really doing the work and guys that you believe on screen.
Yeah, they're good. Those
but
are all
how
good
about
picks.
Directors? Don't you think it's directors that make these actors what they are today?
No. As a matter of fact, I think it's just the opposite. I'd say for every 10 directors I've worked with, maybe one has really been good.
That's sad.
I mean, listen, and I've worked with some of the biggest, most famous directors in the business, but I think most directors, let the actors create what they want to create. And, so it really falls into the actor's lap and sometimes the acting coach.
What do you think of Steven Spielberg?
I think he's a little manipulative, but I think he's fantastic. I have no problem with Steven Spielberg.
Well, what do you think of him as a talent?
I think sometimes, I really enjoy sometimes the stuff that he puts out there. Sometimes I think he tries to manipulate us as an audience.
What did you think of Ready Player One?
I loved it.
Okay, me too.
Now,
I thought it was great. And by the way, I thought the acting in Ready Player One was really
it was really good.
Here's a loaded question. It's dynamite. You don't even have to answer it. What do you think of diversity in film now, with Asians, blacks, gays, lesbians being in film? And most of all, old people, ageist
Well, I'm excited about it, but obviously it takes some work away from myself. But I think the pendulum swings, and I think that I love the fact that there's more diversity because there's more diversity in the world.
Right. But now it seems to be realism. I mean, I know some people that are casting gay people in gay parts. Only gay people. Straight people need not apply. It's only a gay actor playing a gay person. They want that realism because they feel if a straight person acts gay, it comes off kind of making fun of rather than acting out.
Like a caricature.
Exactly, of what the person is. Same thing with ethnic. Years ago, the Jewish woman, darling, I'm dying already. I'm fainting. I'm schwitzing.
Like Fran Drescher in the Nanny.
Right. That was so stereotypical. Today, they're finding actresses that really speak that way, probably from Ocean Parkway, Brooklyn.
Yeah, but listen, Fran is. If you've met Fran, you know that she's really like that.
I interviewed her. What are you talking about? Yeah, she came on our show in a bathrobe with wet hair. She didn't know we were a TV show. She thought it was radio. So there she is sitting in a bathrobe with wet hair.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And Renee Taylor, who played her mom.
Oh, I know Renee well.
My mom in a movie, and Renee's just like that also.
What movie did she play your mom in?
It's called She's Happy. It was a feature that really never went anywhere. A lot of festivals, more or less. But I had a blast, and we did a lot of all our scenes were together. So I had a great time with Renee.
Renee Taylor is fabulous, but her husband Joe was a saint. Loved the both of them.
Guy.
Joe Bologna was wonderful man. But Lainey Kazan, I just interviewed her yesterday. And Lainey's a dear friend of mine for 23 years, and she's another one that played Aunt Frida on The Nanny, and she was like from Brooklyn. Darling,
we love The Nanny. We had Charles Shaughnessy on. We've had everybody from The Nanny on the show.
Right.
and you know that Lainey and Renee grew up together. I mean, they were both at the Actors Studio together.
That's right. Lainey came from a little. We just did the interview yesterday. In fact, it's for Celebrity Cafe that I write for, and I know Lainey 23 years, so it was an easy interview because I knew everything about her and I knew where to go and how delicate. Like the Frank Sinatra 3 months of dating, we had to go delicately there. And a few other places, like when Paul Sorvino said Lainey Kazan had the best tits he ever felt or whatever, we couldn't go there. We had to not do that.
Yeah, we had Paul on the show, and he used to
Paul
date her.
was outrageous. Paul,
I did Paul. A television show with Mira Sorvino, and
I love her.
Actually, it was Mira's first work.
Well, Paul is a riot. Paul doesn't give a shit. He says exactly what he wants. He couldn't care less.
So let's change because we've only got 4.5 minutes left to go. So let's say. As an actor, if you could have been in any film ever in history, what film would you like to be in, and who's the one person who you would like to, a male and a female that you would really like to act opposite, that you haven't already?
I think my favorite film or my favorite part of all time would have been to do Marty, and I'd still like to do Marty at some point. And I think Ernest Borgnine won an Academy Award for it. Lee J. Cobb won an Emmy for it, and I'd love to do the remake at some point. If I could work opposite any actor, it probably would have been Brando. Obviously that isn't going to happen anymore. But I've been really lucky, because I've got to work with Sean Connery. I've got to work with Al Pacino. So, I've worked with some of the legends, and I've worked with the people that I've always wanted to work with. But if I could have done anything, I would have worked with Brando, and I would have worked with Cagney. I met Cagney once, and he was an incredible guy.
Well, Cagney was a caricature of himself. Because
only at the end.
Right, because people that knew him, like Doris Day, who I know, said he was nothing off screen like he was on screen.
It's funny because I said to Cagney once, I said, did you ever study with anybody? And he said, Barry, I just got up and did it. And
right.
Cagney was a huge personality and just one of the sweetest men I ever met.
That's what I was trying to say before. Some people got it and make it pay. Some people can't even give it away. And
again, I really don't agree with you. But I do believe that everybody could be better than they are.
I think that's true.
Better, yes. Improvement, definitely. But not the quality of... Listen, I know Angelina Jolie since a child. She grew up in my house. That's John's daughter. My daughter Deirdre and her went to school. Angie, I know as a kid. I used to ask Angie, when you grow up, do you want to be an actress? She said, I think so. Angie is the most introverted, quiet little kid in the world. Grew up into a lovely woman. She had the talent. I mean, she was an actress from 8 years old, 9 years old.
Yeah, but Angelina, studied a lot. I mean, it's not like, it just came naturally to her. It never did.
Yeah, but if you ask her about the studying, she said she fought with everybody because she did it her way.
That's just the nature of the business. James is a friend of mine, her brother. And
how's he doing? How's he doing?
Great. James is doing great.
Haven't seen him in years. He used to come in our house and play also. He used to wear white face.
Hang on, you got 2 minutes.
He was goth. He used to be goth looking when he was a kid. He was strange.
You guys aren't really saying a whole lot of different, because he's saying he can make a bad actor good, a great actor Academy Award winning, and you're saying, yeah, you can make him good, but what you're saying is you're not going to turn a bad actor who doesn't have it into an Academy Award winner. So
some people just can't act. I mean, let's face it.
But I can make a bad actor a working actor.
Do you
and I've seen it and I've done it.
Do you teach? Do you teach on the side, do private lessons? Because people are asking in the chat room. I
do. I do. And I could be contacted at bpapick@aol.com.
There you go.
I also teach one class a week on Monday nights, which I have a blast doing just because I love actors. But, I do a lot of private coaching, and my class is just a group of really talented people who are really passionate about what they do.
I love it. So everybody follow Barry at bpapick on Twitter, Papick. Look for him in Nation's Fire next year.
And they can check out my website at barrypapick.com, and they can contact me at barrypapick@aol.com.
There you go. You got to love it. Good. Barry, thank you so much.
Anyway, Barry, it was an exciting interview. I don't do kiss-ass interviews. I love your rebuttal. I love your opinions, and I love everything about you. And if I wanted an acting instructor, I certainly would choose you. But I'm Academy Award, 10 Academy Award win.
Yeah,
right. Can I say I'm looking forward to working with you on Thomas Churchill's movies?
Well, I'll be starring. You'll have to. No.
I'm always good for a great supporting role.
No. I will. I instruct them to say the extras cannot speak to me, so you will not speak.
He's going to be coaching you.
In my life, but I promise I'll only say hello, and then
Anyway, I can't wait to share a sandwich with you on the set. Take care, Barry. You're the greatest. I loved your interview. It was exciting. It was good. It was stimulating. Usually they're boring fucking things, but yours was really good.
Thanks,
and
Barry.
Please, when you see Angie's brother, he won't know me as Ron Russell.
That's Ron Sorrego.
Yeah, you'll have to say Deirdre's dad.
Okay.
That's all. Just say Deirdre's dad said, hey, how are you?
There you go.
I'll tell James you said hello.
Okay,
Barry, thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you, guys. This was so much fun.
Bye-bye.
See ya. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Next week, we got Jan Birch coming on. We want to thank everybody in the chat room. And Churchill, thank you. You're a rock star, dude. Everybody follow at Thomas Churchill on Twitter. And we had a great time with your guests, and we'll see everybody next week. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Yo, I'm a little old MC. You can't trust me. Big up the girls inside the party. Let's get down to crazy Jimmy. Big up myself and known as Alfie, the one and only, the Turkish MC.
Always love the clothes of Jimmy.
Bitch, I'm your one I wanna be. Jimmy Star's new celebrity.
We'll take you out to Jimmy Star's. He'll dress you right. You'll feel like a star. We'll hook you up. Now you look sexy. Your game is tight. Gonna get laid tonight. You need Jimmy Star. Jimmy Star. You need Jimmy Star. Jimmy Star. One day I was walking down the street. My mate come up to me and said, hey mate, wanna go to a party?